there are moments where when I'm doing this job and I'm watching hockey or covering hockey where it's more than just a game, and the game itself seems less important. Tonight's one of those nights. Jay Bouwmeester collapsed at the Blues bench. They performed CPR on him. Apparently, there are conflicting reports. Regardless of whether they did or didn't, if defibrillator was on hand, and all of these safety measures have been on hand since scary incidents involving Rich Peverley and Yuri Fisher. And for those of us who remember those incidents, we know those careers were shortened by what took place. Jay Bouwmeester was taken to the hospital. Last report, he's awake, which is great news. And whatever happened, it's bigger than the game, and so the game was postponed. And again, it's definitely something that is bigger. And we go through these moments in hockey where we are reminded that, all these games and everything's, it's just great. That's all fine. But after that took place, I did not have an emotional connection with the games. It was hard for me, and I cannot imagine what the St. Louis Blues and Anaheim Ducks are going through tonight. Scary as that is for your teammate, you see that as the opponent, and it's rough. And they made the right call postponing the game. I thought the NHL handled it very, very well. I thought the Ducks and the Blues handled it very, very well, to the point where on Twitter they both put out the same statement. Obviously, all of us tonight are hoping that Bouwmeester's okay, that his career will continue, and that the Blues can rally around this, that he'll be back with the team sooner rather than later, and that we will see him soon. And so that's where I'm at with that. I do still have the notes on the board from the game from before the incident, and while the incident was going on before we knew the game would be postponed, I will not go over those notes. That game is postponed, meaning whatever took place tonight doesn't go into the official stats, and they will play the game again at a later date. So I would imagine the makeup date for that will be announced. That'll end up in a news of the day kind of thing. But definitely tonight is different, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it before I even get into these games. Since it's the last game of the night, I'm not going to wait until the end of this video to talk about this, because it is bigger than the game. And I know I got choked up watching it. I know there were a lot of fans that were very upset with what was going on in Anaheim, because again, in a moment like that, doesn't matter what jersey a guy wears, doesn't matter what's going on, doesn't matter the score, you don't care. Your concern is the health of the player, and in this case, a longtime veteran, Iron Man of the game, who there was no indication on his last shift there was anything wrong. It was sudden, and things like that can be sudden. And yeah, so that being said, and I really wish I had a good segue to discuss these games, and I don't. And I apologize, because it has to be covered. I have to talk about tonight's games, just like tomorrow morning I have to get up and talk about tomorrow's games. But this will definitely overshadow things for a while, because again, there are bigger things involved than just hockey. All right, Buffalo at home against the Detroit Red Wings. So for Buffalo tonight, this is really a no-win situation, even though there's a win involved. If they lose against Detroit, it adds to the misery of Buffalo fans. If they lose against Detroit, it doubles that, adding to the misery of Buffalo fans. And early it looked bad. Helm scores from Mantha at 27 seconds. Welcome back to the game, Anthony Mantha. But that lead doesn't last. 36 seconds later, Sherry scores from Johansson and Lazar. And before I've even got anything started, there's goals being scored. And I'm like, okay, so there's 5 games starting at the same time. I'll do what I can. It was one of those nights. The shots were 10-4 Sabres, 9 minutes in. But again, as long as the game's tied, if you're the team with 4 shots, you're like, all right, we got to bail our goaltender out, which is something Detroit should be doing more than they are. The Wings get a power play, and the Sabres actually went more than 8 minutes without a shot. I think it was 9 or 10 minutes in between shots for the Buffalo Sabres. So after the first period, it's 1-1. So we go to the second period. The shots were 2-1 for the Sabres, 6.5 minutes in. Not an exciting game overall. Helm, however, would add to the excitement with a goal from Mantha at 7:02. That lead held until Johansson comes back. He gets a goal from Dahlin and Reinhardt at 14:59. That ties it up at 2. The Sabres then get a power play. They don't score on it, so we go into the third period with a tie. First minute of the third period, Buffalo wastes no time. It is Sam Reinhart with a goal from Eichel and Yoki Haru at 57 seconds. Kind of takes Detroit out of it, although they did pressure in that third period. They got a power play at the half, but towards the end of the game, a penalty against the Detroit Red Wings, and that seals it for Buffalo. Buffalo holds on, wins it 3-2. Bernier saves 22 out of 25. Hutton saves 27 out of 29, so another good game for Carter Hutton, who's been pretty solid while Ullmark's been out. And in the midst of all of the tire fire talk and whatever else you want to talk about with Buffalo, Hutton's stats have actually been decent since Ullmark got hurt. Johansson, Helm, and Sherry are your 3 stars. The shots were 12-10 Detroit in the first. 10-7 Buffalo in the second, and then Detroit outshoots them 10-5 in the third. Power plays, both teams go 0-4-3, so both of them continue to struggle with the man advantage. Final shots 29-25 in favor of the Red Wings. All right, moving on to the next one, which was a really solid game actually. And this one, it turned, and you can see where it turns once we reach overtime. But for the Toronto Maple Leafs, really, really important 2 points, because they're in a bit of a dogfight for that third spot. And for Montreal, they got no help tonight. They got none. It looked like Arizona might help them, and then they didn't. And it looked like Arizona might help them early. Dvorak scores from Garland and Ekman-Larsson at 1:04. And this was another poor start for Toronto. Just they have these downbeats during games, and it can be a bit frustrating to watch. But the Leafs did push for an answer, and they would get a power play. They don't score on it. The power play was not a big deal in this game, although it looked like it might be late. Hyman would then score from Barrie and Kerfoot at 14:23. Oh, it's back to just being Kerfoot? Okay. So Kerfoot with the second assist on that one. Second period, early close calls for the Leafs. Just near misses, close calls, pretty close, almost. That's so close. Those kinds of plays. The Coyotes would get a power play. That didn't work. The Leafs got a power play after that. That didn't work either. And Hill, pretty darn good start for him, although he's helped by his posts when Austin Matthews hits the post. He is still on 40 goals. As Ovechkin and Matthews are cold now? No, they're not. It doesn't last. Kessel then had some chances in close. He didn't put them away. Toronto fans really seem to remember that Phil Kessel played for Toronto. They seem to be in tune with that. And then Soderberg would score in the last minute from Richardson and Chychrun. So at 19:13, Soderberg scores what is his 100th National Hockey League goal. Makes it 2-1 Arizona after 2, which brings Montreal fans to their feet saying, all right, maybe we've got this. However, third period, early goal. It is an early goal from Hyman, from Tavares and Kerfoot at 1:33. It ties it up, gets the crowd really, really going. It was a pretty hot crowd tonight for Toronto. It really was. The Leafs pressed at about 7 minutes. The Coyotes got a power play. Crowd was not happy about that. Kerfoot then had a shorthanded break, which was denied by Aiden Hill. Hill played great. And then Campbell robbed Soderberg. So Soderberg going for his second goal of the game. And Jack Campbell, for anybody who wondered, is Jack Campbell going to be good? This was his third straight start. And the answer is yes. Yes, he is pretty good. As he'd been in LA, it was just the defense in front of him wasn't very good. Power play for the Leafs. And that's a trip by Phil Kessel, which drew really loud cheers from the crowd. They were very happy to see Kessel go into the box. I take it more as a good-natured thing, though. I don't see it as like they hate Kessel. I think it's just a good-natured back and forth between Kessel and the fans. 5 minutes and 34 seconds left. The Leafs take a timeout during that power play, which I wasn't sure if I agreed with that. I thought, you've kind of got them. Maybe just go out there and keep it up. But either way, it didn't work. There was a last-minute save then by Hill. There were a number of late saves by Hill, but there was one in the last minute that was great. And then the Coyotes draw a power play. So last minute of the third period, power play, it goes over into the third. So, or over to overtime. So you're like, okay, here we go. In the overtime, Chychrun, goal. So that's it. Game over, 3-2 in favor of the Coyotes. It's all done. But review, keep in mind, last 2 minutes of the period or in overtime, they are automatically reviewed. A coach doesn't have to say I'm challenging, nothing. They're automatically reviewed. On review, the goal was taken away for goalie interference. I thought it was goalie interference. I thought it was the right call. As soon as I saw that the player in front kind of kicks the stick of Campbell, I said, all right, it's not a penalty. And this is something that sometimes people get confused with. If it's ruled as goalie interference, it's not always a penalty. If it's incidental, it just means that the goaltender didn't have a chance to reset, or he was distracted and distracted by, in this case, a stick being pulled away, so he couldn't make the save. So they say, all right, that goal doesn't count. You're not getting a penalty, but no harm, no foul. So that happens, and it really felt like that turned things. Hill stopped Marner. There was a close call for Tavares, and then Kasperi Kapanen with a beautiful goal at 3 minutes and 42 seconds. So if Toronto's going to upgrade their blue line and use Kapanen to get it done, use the replay of that goal and sell that to other GMs and say, oh, this is what he does every night. So Toronto wins it 3-2 in overtime. Their playoff lives are not over. They really aren't. Hill saves 38 out of 41. Campbell saves 35 out of 37. Your 3 stars are Campbell, Hyman, and Hill. So Jack Campbell's the first star. Got to feel pretty good. Power plays, both teams 0 for 3. Shots 13-12 Toronto in the first, 14-10 in the second in favor of Arizona, 14-8 in favor of the Leafs in the third, and then 4-3 Toronto in the overtime. So pretty exciting overtime period overall, and 41-37 in favor of Toronto. So that's one of those really 80s feeling games in terms of defense. Not really, it's optional. It's optional. Florida. The Florida Panthers went in tonight. You might have called this a trap game, but with where Florida is in the standings, there shouldn't be a single trap game. These guys know they need to win. They know that Montreal's been playing better as of late, and they need to make sure they maintain their distance between themselves and Montreal. And this is where things get tough for Montreal. They don't have games in hand on the teams in front of them, and they need the teams in front of them to lose to really have that hope of getting into the playoffs. Montembeault versus Domingue. So as soon as I saw that, I put it on the board. I thought we're going to see some goals tonight. And Ken Danico said that as well. He said during the game, I think we're going to see a lot of goals tonight. Probably understanding both goaltenders with save percentages well under 900. You're probably going to see some goals. And early power play for the Devils. On said power play, Hughes. Hughes gets a goal from Severson and Simmons at 3 minutes and 15 seconds. And that power play marker puts New Jersey up 1-0. That felt pretty good. At the halfway mark, the Devils get another power play. They have a chance to add to it. Short-handed, though, Achari gets a nice break and misses wide. Florida's penalty kill has been really good over the last couple of weeks. And I don't know if maybe it's been that good all season and I just really haven't paid much attention. But yeah, when they get a penalty against them, you can bet somebody's going to get a really good chance. And in this case, it was Achari. It's been Vetrano regularly as well. Connolly would score from Trocheck and Hoffman 11 minutes and 50 seconds. That ties it up. And then in the last minute, those killer goals in the last minute of the period, Matheson from Achari and Pesek. So at 19-14, it's 2-1 in favor of Florida. Third period, early. So the goals kept coming. Pesek scores from Matheson and Achari at 2:43. Who's this Pesek guy? Because he can't be the same one that was Pesek before this year, even earlier this year, because he gets on the board a lot. He's actually a pretty effective player, and maybe he should just stay as a forward. Rooney would answer from Anderson, though, at 4:17. So less than 2 minutes later, New Jersey makes it 3-2. But 42 seconds after that, it's Vetrano. So that defensive zone just breaks down. Sevier and Yandel with the assists at 4:59. And then 39 seconds after that, Achari scores his 19th from Pesek and Matheson. So Achari with a goal and 2 assists. He's up to 24 points. Amazing run for him. And we're 5 minutes into the second period, and the score is 5-2. Sorry, 5-2 for Florida. ridiculous score. But you leave Demang in because apparently no matter what happened tonight, they weren't going to switch goaltenders. Or coach looked and said, well, it's not his fault. I'm not pulling him out of there. There was actually Bronx cheers coming down for Demang at that point, and I always feel bad for a goaltender when he's getting Bronx cheers. It's not what you need. You don't need your own crowd turning on you. Palmieri would score from Butcher and Carrick at 14:30, and the Devils had a decent run of play after that goal went in. Montembeault robbed Hughes. There was a late Panthers power play they wouldn't score on in the third. The Panthers get their second and final power play of the game. They don't score on that one either. And the noteworthy thing from there is Montembeault plays pretty well. The Devils pull the goalie with more than 2 minutes left. Neither team gets a goal during that period, but Florida doesn't need to and New Jersey does. So Montembeault gets 25 saves on 28 shots in the victory. Demang saves 28 out of 33 in the loss. Your 3 stars are Matheson, Pesic, and Achari. Shots, 8 apiece in the first, 16-7 in the second in favor of Florida, 13-9 in the third in favor of New Jersey. Power plays 0 for 2 for Florida, 1 for 2 for the New Jersey Devils. Overall, 33-28 in favor of the Florida Panthers. Decent enough game. Decent enough game for Florida. All right. Next on the list is Philadelphia in against the Islanders. And this game perfectly encapsulates what drives me nuts about the Philadelphia Flyers. It is that they do have a lot of ability. There is a lot of talent there, but they have these lapses. And for the Islanders, this is another good result for them as they rebuild their confidence and get back on track and put themselves in a position where, yeah, they're a playoff team. The shots were 4-1 for the Flyers at 4 minutes, and they were playing well until Bailey scores from Barzal at 7:45, so that makes it 1-0. But the Flyers, they can still, nope. Martin scores from Komarov and Brassard at 11:13. That is assist number 100 in the career of Leo Komarov. It's not video worthy, but it's a 100 assists. Congratulations to him on that. And then about 4 minutes later, Eberle scores from Barzal and Lee at 15:36. It is 3-0 for the Islanders after 1. This game is home and cooled. It's done. But it's not, because Philadelphia, they show some fight in this game. Konechny would score from Van Riemsdyk and Lawton at 9:34. So halfway through the second period, they get a goal. They make it 3-1, and you're like, maybe. The Flyers pushed after scoring, and they would get another one. Haig scores from Giroux and Lawton at 11:56. So 3-2 is your score at that stage. Strong period for the Flyers. And it felt like the momentum was really on their side. And they carry that into the third period. They get a power play. They get a second power play. Those are their 2 power plays for the game. It's interesting to me how often we'll see that where a team gets a power play and then they get another, and then there's nothing for the rest of the game. The shots were 10-5 Flyers at 14 minutes. Varlamov was making some amazing saves. Really, really strong saves towards the end of this. Timeout for the Flyers with 2:05 left. Coming out of the timeout, the goaltender's on the bench. Everything's good. Couturier. Yeah, with the goaltender pulled, they get a goal. Couturier scores from Giroux and Provorov at 18:28. This is going to overtime. This is going to be a game where both teams get a point. This is nope. Pulock scores from Barzal and Eberle at 19:19. So less than a minute later, the Islanders answer, and this is where the Flyers are kind of maddening. Because you can make the argument in this game, hey, the Flyers came back from 3-0 down. I can also make the argument of, yep, and then they choked it away. Empty netter is then added by Komarov from Bailey, 19:56. So Leo gets a goal to go with his assist. Elliott saves 20 out of 24. Varlamov saves 35 out of 38. Your 3 stars are Barzal, Pulock, and Komarov. All Islanders. Not a surprise there. Power plays 0 for 2 for Philly. The Islanders generated 1 power play tonight, and they were 0 for on that. Shots 10-9 in favor of Philadelphia in the first, 14-9 Philadelphia in the second, 14-7 Philadelphia in the third. Final shots 38-25, but despite being outshot greatly, being outplayed on some level through large portions of this game, the Islanders come away with the 2 points, and that's all that matters. That being said, I need to change boards. All right, next on the list, Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh. If these teams meet in the playoffs, is this what we're going to get? This was close. This was really close. Now, for Tampa Bay, they sweep the season series with Pittsburgh, but it's close. And Matt Murray has rejuvenated his career. He's back. So all this talk about, Murray's overrated, they can let Murray go in the offseason, I don't think that's the plan. I get the feeling Pittsburgh is doing with Murray the same thing Colorado did with Grubauer, which is, okay, the backup's playing well, that's great, but this is the guy we need if we're going to go anywhere in the playoffs. And I think that's the perception with Pittsburgh. If they're going to go anywhere in the playoffs, they trust Murray. Maybe they don't trust Jarry, much like with Colorado. They seem to trust Grubauer to get his game together, which he has, and not so much trust that we're going to see Francouz go on a run. The Tampa Bay Lightning get a power play in this game early on. Murray, though, playing very, very well, and that was noticeable right away. Tampa Bay, it was the better team in the first half of the period, and probably in the second half as well. There was a power play for the Penguins, and they score on it. And this is where it gets frustrating, is when your team's the better team, and yet you're behind on the scoreboard. Malkin gets the power play marker from Crosby and Letang at 11:31. The Penguins then get another power play late in the period. So at 18:46, they get a power play, so with 1:14 left. And then in the second period, that power play just fizzles out in between the first and second, and then Tampa gets a power play of their own. And what happens there? Sergachev gets the power play marker from Kucherov and Maroon at 3:59. There was a Malkin disagreement with Shen. They didn't really like each other very much. Became a 4-on-4 as they get offsetting penalties. Tampa Bay would get a power play out of that. Shortly after that. And yeah, so we go into the third period tied at 1. There really wasn't a whole lot else to say. Both goaltenders are playing well. I can only put so many times that they're playing well. Dangerous close-in chances for the Penguins early on. Murray denied Stevens shortly after that. And the game felt like it was destined for overtime. Halfway through the period, I'm like, this game has to go to overtime. These teams are both playing very, very well. The shots were 14-5 for the Penguins at 11:30. So while both teams I thought were playing pretty well, the Penguins were dominating the shots. Power play for the Penguins, and you think, okay, this is probably going to... It doesn't. Tampa Bay survives that. Very good penalty kill. And who's your best penalty killer? Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky's becoming a huge story. So we talk about Vezina. Right now, it's Vasi's award. It is. Right now, if the award's being given out today, it goes to Andrei Vasilevsky, and that makes everybody throw their arms up that wouldn't support Vasilevsky. Overtime. Yeah, we go to overtime. Vasilevsky stopped Malkin. Absolutely brilliant save by Vasilevsky. And then at the other end of the rink, Point gets it to Hedman, over to Gord. Gord puts it away at 2:45. Yanni Gord, who's had some downbeats this year, maybe this is the sign that he's going to be picking things up. Vasilevsky saves 35 out of 36. Murray saves 36 out of 38. Your 3 stars are Vasilevsky, Murray, and Yanni Gord. So pretty strong game for Matt Murray. Unfortunately, takes the overtime loss, but Pittsburgh does get a point. They gain a point on the Washington Capitals, and Tampa, they're getting pretty close to that number 1 spot in the NHL, aren't they? It's getting really close. If Montreal beats Boston tomorrow night, Tampa has an excellent chance to overcome them next game out and be number 1 in the NHL, which will leave Tampa fans feeling kind of conflicted. Power plays, both teams go 1 for 4. Shots, 17-8 Tampa in the first, 11-10 Pittsburgh in the second, 16-9 Pittsburgh in the third. In overtime, 2 shots for Tampa, including the one that matters, 1 shot for Pittsburgh. 38-36 are your final shots in favor of the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, next up is Minnesota. Where did this come from? Honest question, I don't know where this came from. This is just fantastic special teams from the Minnesota Wild tonight. And 5-on-5, they gave Vegas nothing. They weren't giving Vegas looks down the middle. They were choking off center ice position and doing it very, very well. So there's an early Vegas power play. They did have power plays, couldn't get theirs to convert, but Minnesota did. They get a power play, and Eriksson Ek scores from Greenway and Dumba at 5:30. And at the halfway mark of the first period, Vegas had managed 1 shot. 1. And for a long time there, the shots were 4-1 in favor of Minnesota, but Minnesota did start getting shots, and now that would even up a little bit, but they were 4-1 at one point. So like I said, the shots would even up later. The Wild get another power play, and that's where your story is in this game. It really is. Spurgeon from Fiala and Suter at 12:44. Vegas then gets their turn on a power play. It doesn't go anywhere before the period's over. Another power play for Vegas. So their power play being unable to capitalize in the first period really tells the story in this one. So rather than being 2-1, maybe 2-2, it's 2-0 for Minnesota. Second period, an early power play for Vegas. The Wild would get another power play. They don't score on that one. Fiala would score from Parise and Brodin, though, at 9-11 to make it 3-0. So that was when I went, all right, that's the game. I can't see in half a game Minnesota giving up 4 goals against Tampa or against Vegas. So the Wild get a power play shortly after that. Parise scores from Stahl and Fiala at 15:47. And your power play, that's 3 power play goals tonight for Minnesota. It's 4-0 going into the third. And that's where, it's notable. And they had a whole highlight reel of all of the occasions where Minnesota is just choking off the middle of the ice. They weren't giving Vegas any chance to get any kind of steam going through the middle. And it's one of those games that, Vegas really needed this, and they didn't get it. And much like Montreal, Vegas doesn't have games in hand on anybody else. So they need to win their games when they're out on the ice. And tonight just wasn't their night. The Wild would get their 5th and final power play in that third period, which just helps them ice the game. The final's 4-0. Stalock with his 8th career shutout, his 3rd of the season. He's having a pretty good year. Fleury would save 16 out of 20 before Subban came in to relieve him in the third. Subban saves all 5 shots he faces. Fiala, Stalock, and Parise are your 3 stars. Stalock saved 26 shots for the shutout. Shots were 8 apiece in the first, so like I said, Vegas did get their shots in the second half of that period. 14-12 Vegas in the second, 5-4 in the third in favor of Minnesota. I'm not kidding about them choking off the middle of the ice. There just wasn't anything out there. Final shots 26-25 in favor of the Vegas Golden Knights, who went 0-4 on the power play, while Minnesota went 3-5. So there really wasn't any good news for Vegas tonight. There just wasn't any. Which in and of itself is a silver lining, because there isn't anything that players for Vegas tonight can look at and go, well, we did this well, so we'll be fine. There's nothing. There's nothing there. Next up, Rangers. Speaking of teams that had a rough night, the Rangers were not one of them. The Rangers did something tonight they haven't been able to do all year, and it puts Jeff Gorton in a tough position for 2 reasons. One, there's been a lot of talk about trading Kreider. Coming out of tonight, you don't trade Kreider. And 2, are they sellers? Coming out of tonight, I don't see how. I mean, there's fans that would be fine with selling, but considering how crazy things are right now, who knows? String together some wins and see what happens. Then this is banner week in the NHL. They had Thomas Steen out there, Bobby Hull out there. It's banner week. So banners, and they were wearing their throwbacks, the heritage jerseys. It's nice. It's nice to see. It's nice to see legends. And I'm saying week because, of course, the Canucks had their Legends night last night, and now tomorrow night they're having their retirement of Sedin's numbers. The first minute, the Jets get a good chance. Jets were playing pretty well. The shots were 5-2 for the Jets at 3 minutes into the game, so they came out of the gate pretty darn well. And they had no problem generating shots. There's this kid, Shesterkin, in New York. Tonight is the best example so far, and he keeps giving us good examples of how he deserves to be the starter with New York, period. Whatever happens outside of that, doesn't matter. He should be the starter, and done. The Jets get a power play, and Di Giuseppe is continuing to have an impressive call-up. He gets called up a few games ago. He's not on the board tonight. He was on the board a couple times last game. He's having a good run. Kreider would score from Buchnevich in the last minute. 19 minutes, 25 seconds, so with 35 seconds left in the first period. Rangers get on the board, and it was a really nice deke by Chris Kreider. Just fantastic deke. There's no way Hellebuck's stopping that. Second period, there was an early power play for the Jets. The Jets' power play was hurting them tonight. Since that hat trick, the hat trick of power play goals for Laine, as great as that was, their power play's gone back to being middling. And so I don't know how you fix this. The Rangers get a power play, and they score on it. It's Kreider from Strome at 7:30. It's 2-0. And right at that point, I thought, with what the Jets are showing at this stage, with what Shesterkin's showing at this stage, I don't see how Winnipeg comes back and wins this. So when you've got a rookie goaltender in, and at 7 minutes and 30 seconds of the second period, you go up 2-0, and I'm looking at this game going, well, that's it. That should be done because Shesterkin's been awesome. That says a lot for how strong your rookie goaltender is. Third period, Strome would score in the first minute from fast at 53 seconds. So that really took the air out of the building. I know late in the game they showed Jets fans leaving, and you see a mascot. It wasn't the Moose, but a mascot just shrugging and shaking his head like I don't know what to tell you. You could almost hear him apologizing to people as they leave. Zibanejad would score from Buchnevich less than 30 seconds, or no, let's see, 35 seconds later, minute and 28 seconds, and it just there's no coming back from that. The Jets get a power play. They don't score on it, but after that, shortly after that, Ehlers gets a goal from Niku and Morrissey at 4:35. And that brought the fans back into the game, but I kind of felt bad for them because I thought you're not going to get 4 goals against this kid. The Jets pushed for another. They did, and then they pulled the goalie when they're down by 3. Or as my wife says, they wanted to duck it, which goes back to the 2017 playoffs. We actually talked about that when we were in Anaheim at the meetup, where we talked to Anaheim fans about how we felt that when Anaheim pulled the goaltender late and scored a bunch of goals against Edmonton, that kind of ruined hockey. Then there was a timeout with 30 seconds left. You're down 4-1. There's 30 seconds left. What in the world are you gonna... The only thing that I can figure is they're going, okay, how do we get 2 goals on this play? The players are like, no, they whistle the play dead after 1 goal. And you go, no, we'll put 2 pucks on the ice. If 2 of us can score right now, we have a chance. Can we put 7 players on the ice? No. So, yeah, the final score is 4-1. The ending of this game took way too long because of the timeout. I thought was just torture. It's got to be bad for fans in the crowd. Shesterkin saves 42 out of 43. Lundqvist played like 6 minutes of the game. He made a save. And Hellebuck saved 28 out of 32 in the loss. Your 3 stars are Kreider, Zibanejad, and Shesterkin. So, kid's pretty darn good. Power plays, the Rangers go 1 for 1. Winnipeg goes 0 for 4. So that's how opportunistic special teams work. And for Winnipeg, a team that has struggled during the year with its penalty kill at various times, being 0 for 1 in the penalty kill doesn't help. Shots, it favored Winnipeg the whole game. 13-11 in the first, 12-10 in the second, 19-11 in the third. Final shots, 44-32 in favor of the Winnipeg Jets. But this new kid for the Rangers, turns out he's pretty good. It's a pretty decent goaltender. They might want to hold on to him. So anybody who's wondered why would they trade Georgiev, he seems good. Watch the highlights from this game. Just the highlights should tell you all you need to know. Next up, Carolina went into Dallas tonight, and I have to say, I don't know what's up with... here's the thing. You watch this game and you ask yourself, okay, is Dallas this good or is Carolina this bad? And I don't really have an answer coming out of this game, but I feel better about Dallas right now than I have all year. And that may turn out to be fool's gold, but right now with this game, I feel pretty confident that this team makes the playoffs and can at least win around in said playoffs if they can play like this. The shots were 5-1 early for the Stars. Mrazek was doing his best early on, and honestly, Mrazek had a very good game. I've talked about the Carolina goaltending this year. When I haven't been impressed, tonight I was impressed. It was very good. But Jamie Benn scores from Johns and Heiskanen at 7:54. And Jamie Benn tonight, he was Jamie Benn. I haven't seen Jamie Benn play this well all season, and it is a big part of the reason why I am buying right now on the Dallas Stars. The shots were 11-3 Stars 14 minutes in. The Canes got a power play, which helped to even out the shots a bit, and then Aho scores after the power play's over from Svechnikov and Slavin at 17:38. So it's 1-1 after 1, but Dallas with a lot of the momentum. The Stars got a power play early. Mrazek robbed Faksa twice. So Radek Faksa not able to get on the board tonight, but not through any lack of trying. There was another power play for the Stars after that, and they'd score. Their power play's been pretty good. This is another reason why I honestly feel better about Dallas than I have in a very long time. Gurianov gets the goal from Heiskanen and Hintz. Gurianov started to put up some power play markers and just goals in general. And the fact that now Dallas is getting those goals, that's huge. The Stars got another power play as Carolina just kind of melts down, and Jamie Benn scores the second of the game from Tyler Seguin at 15:06. And Carolina looked off. Something wasn't right. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're starting to feel the loss of Dougie Hamilton more and more with each game, but something wasn't right. And for a team that's below the playoff line, that's troubling. Third period, Power play for the Stars. Solid, very... I can't stress enough, the shutdown game by Dallas tonight was on point. It was really good. One of the best defensive efforts I've seen Dallas put on this year. Carolina's a team that can score. They are a team that's young and exciting and fast. And if you watch this game, you hadn't watched a game this year, you would think Carolina was in a rebuild. This was a very good game for Dallas. Or again, like I said, maybe something's going on with Carolina that we didn't see. Ben would get a hat trick at 18:41. He gets awarded a goal. This does confuse people at times where it's an empty net. He gets pulled down by Svechnikov, and the referee points at the net, meaning that's a goal. So with the empty net, if they feel he would have scored there, but you pulled him down, or you hooked him, whatever you did, they can award a goal, and they did there. So Jamie Benn gets awarded the hat trick on the empty net. It's the 6th of his career, and it was hat night. For Military Appreciation Night, they gave out hats. So the hats rained down for a while, which had to make things more miserable for Carolina, because they just want to go home. They don't want to be here, and there's bags and bags and bags of hats from Dallas. So hope those all go to a good cause, because they got a ton tonight. So Dallas gets the win. Jamie Benn with a hat trick. He's your first star. Haskinen's second star. Guryanov's third star. I would give Hudobin a star as well, just because he saved 24 out of 25. Mrazek, 33 saves on 36 shots. Power plays 0 for 1 for Carolina, so they didn't generate enough power plays. And Dallas goes 1 for 4. The shots favored Dallas in the first and second, 12-9 and 17-9 respectively. And then in the third, both teams had 7 shots. Again, just a great shutdown. This is where I will tell you guys, when a team's playing playoff hockey, and tonight Dallas was playing playoff hockey, they outshot the Carolina Hurricanes 36-25. And for Carolina, that's it for tonight, and we'll see where things go for them from here. Again, below the playoff line, and it's brutal because they've got a lot of points, but they're in the East. That being said, I need to change boards. Well, at the start of the night, where I'm saying, all right, I'm going to throw on a jersey, I wore Ottawa. I thought, maybe Ottawa can do this. And then very quickly into the night's action, I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. The Abs were leading in shots 4-2 at the 3-minute mark, and it felt like they were playing well. However, the Senators take control after that, and they outshot them badly after that in that period. The shots were actually 12-6 for the Senators at the half. Maybe they've got it in them. The last minute of the first period, Mikko Rantanen with a goal from McKinnon and Graves. So again, that key last-minute goal goes to Colorado, and at that point I thought, well, okay. The problem was Grubauer was playing excellent as well. Grubauer has been kind of fantastic along this run for Colorado, and tonight they get 2 points closer to St. Louis, as does Dallas. That race at the top of the Central, it's a heated one right now. Senators get a power play early in the second. The Avalanche got their turn on the power play. Grubauer, again, as I said, having another good start. The Avs pressured it around 15 minutes. Duclair then had a break that kind of broke down. And I thought with him handling that puck on the breakaway, I thought it was really a microcosm of how Duclair's confidence appears to be gone. This was a guy who got 21 goals. He's going to the All-Star game. Everything's great. He goes to the All-Star game. Well, he's mired in a bit of a slump, but he plays well there. But he's gone right back into the slump since getting back to Ottawa. And here's the thing. If you're negotiating with him and trying to figure out an extension, how much is he worth? Do you pay him for the 21 goals, or do you look at the fact he's goalless in his last, 15 or 16 now? And does that weight, again, it's almost a poor man's Line situation from Line last year. And again, I'm not meaning to compare them. It's just, it's similar. Third period, the shots are 7-3 for the Avs at the 6-minute mark, as they looked like they were ready to shut things down. They get a power play. They don't score on it. However, Nichushkin gets his 11th of the year from Burakovsky and Girard at 10:26. And Nichushkin, who to start the season really was unremarkable as an offensive force, he got the defensive part of the game down, and now the offense is coming around. So this is the player that Dallas drafted in the first round. This is the player they thought they were getting. And right now, Colorado is reaping the benefits on a very, very cap-friendly contract. Another solid game for Hogberg. Kind of gets overshadowed here. He doesn't get a star. I would give him an honorary star, but I already gave Hudobin. You know what? I'll take Hudobin's, because that wasn't really an honorary. That was if I could add a fourth. I'll give Hogberg an honorary star tonight because he doesn't quit. So even though, Ottawa's not coming back to win, he doesn't quit. He doesn't stop. There was a close call at the Sens net. It was almost 3-0. It was interesting because Shabbat kind of has the puck and he kind of bats it into the pads of Hogberg, and then he does this, like, I didn't touch it in the crease. You could almost hear him saying, I didn't touch it in the crease. I swear I didn't touch it in the crease. Because if you touch it in the crease, then that's a bad thing. Landeskog would add the empty netter from McKinnon at 18:55, and that's a 3-0 shutout for Grubauer, who's having a pretty good run. 34 saves tonight for the shutout. So it's not like Ottawa didn't play well. They did. It's just they just couldn't finish, and Grubauer was there. Hogberg, 33 saves on 35 shots. Very good game. Grubauer, Rantanen, and Nichushkin are your 3 stars. Shots, 15-9 in the first in favor of the Ottawa Senators. 12-8 Colorado in the second. 15-11 Colorado in the third. Final shots, 36-34 in favor of Ottawa. I'm sorry I keep saying Rantanen. I get it stuck in my head that Pierre Maguire says Rantanen and he rolls the R and it just sounds weird. I know I should say Rantanen, but I've heard that so much. Anyways, so I apologize. Power play 0 for 2 for the Ottawa Senators, 1 for 5 for the Colorado Avalanche, who have to feel pretty good about their chances right now. Absolutely. Great run they've been on as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. Last game of the night, sadly, and again, this to me, this is postponed. This is not a game we're going to review. This I talked about at the start. So the last game of the night, sadly, was Chicago and Edmonton. And yet, this game had excitement. It had everything. But obviously, my mind was with this for large portions of this. So first period, Edmonton gets off to a fast start. It's Sheahan scoring from Cassian and Archibald at 1:13. And considering goal scoring seemed to be going down a little bit, it feels like over tonight's games, it went up again. Saad scores from Kane and Murphy not long after, 5:56. So Patrick Kane continues his hot streak as well. He's always on a hot streak, so I'm just saying that. And then the Oilers get a power play. During said power play, Taves gets a shorthanded goal from Carpenter and Mata at 14:19. So it's 2-1 in favor of Chicago. And this is where you would expect Edmonton to kind of fall apart. And to be honest, I kept thinking without McDavid, this could be a rough night for Edmonton. However, Yamamoto scores a power play goal from Chiasson and Draisaitl at 17:18. That Kyler Yamamoto, pretty good top 6 forward. And while Ken Holland's done some good things, including he extended Nygaard today, he's also had some good fortune. Yamamoto, a guy who didn't come through for the Oilers last year, who if he had, maybe Chiarelli wouldn't have got fired the way that he did. But Yamamoto now is that top 6 forward they desperately needed. And in the absence of Connor McDavid, that makes it a more acute need for the team. So it's 2-2 after 1, and it feels like this could be a very high-scoring game. It kind of was and kind of wasn't. So Chicago takes a lead 1 minute and 45 seconds into the second period. It's Boquist scoring from Kane. So that's Kane's second helper of the game. However, Yamamoto would answer from Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl at 3:38. They get a power play shortly thereafter. During said power play, Nugent Hopkins adds a goal from Draisaitl and Smith at 4:50. That is point number 400 in the career of Leon Draisaitl, who is just racing his way to 1,000. It's going to happen. And coming out of tonight, he has 3 assists tonight. He's going to end up winning the Art Ross Trophy, and it's going to make an argument in favor of the Hart if he managed to buoy this team into a playoff spot despite the absence of McDavid. It definitely adds to an argument that he should get consideration. Now, Kubalik had a shot that went wide. The Blackhawks, in their favor, they didn't give up. Leonard robbed Yamamoto of the hat trick. Yamamoto had a very nice shot that Leonard robbed him of. Power play for the Hawks and then another. And you got the feeling Leonard wasn't coming out no matter what because Crawford's going to play tomorrow in Vancouver. Third period, power play for the Hawks. And the shots at 12 and a half minutes into that third period were 10-2 in favor of Chicago. They played very, very well. Taves had a chance. It was a near miss. And you could see him staring skyward at that. They pulled the goalie with 2 minutes and 5 seconds left. So for Chicago, they believe they have a chance. They're down by 1, but it's Draisaitl that adds the empty netter. So that's point number 401 for Leon Draisaitl at 19:57. And that's the game. The Edmonton Oilers beat Chicago 5-3. So for the Hawks, who, a week ago, we were talking about how they could end up being in the playoffs and things look good. Now they're going to be coming into Vancouver tomorrow night, realizing that they're teetering on the edge of Bowman looking at selling pieces at the deadline if they can't get things together. So we are at that stage where things are that precarious. Leonard saves 26 out of 30. It played well enough. Just Edmonton's top-end talent with Yamamoto, Nugent Hopkins, and Draisaitl was too much for him. Smith saved 38 out of 41. That's his 15th win of the season. He's quietly having a good year himself. Yamamoto, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins are your 3 stars. Shots 13-12 in the first in favor of Edmonton, 13-11 Edmonton in the second, and then 18-5 for Chicago in the third. Yeah. Final shots 41-31 in favor of the Hawks, 0 for 3 on the power play for Chicago, 2 for 3 on the power play for the Edmonton Oilers. And there you go. You guys are all caught up on the action from tonight. And again, for those who may have used timestamps due to Jay Bouwmeester collapsing during the first period of the game between St. Louis and Anaheim. And again, at the time I'm recording this, I don't know exactly what happened, so I don't want to wildly speculate. But he's in the hospital. He's awake, last I heard. And so all of our thoughts are with Bouwmeester tonight, and they've postponed the game. They'll play it at a later date. So I'm hoping that St. Louis, I know they don't play tomorrow, I'm hoping that St. Louis has a chance to depressurize and that he's okay, so that in their next game, he'll be in their thoughts, and I'm assuming he won't be able to play the next game, that they're able to focus and play the game. So we're all kind of rallying behind the Blues. I had thought about wearing a Blues jersey for the review, and I thought, no, I'll stay with my pattern, but mention it at the start, at the end of the video. So thank you guys so much for all your support. Remember, every day is a gift. It really is. And just, don't be an ass. That's the only rule in life. Just don't be an ass. And it works. It's such, to other people, to yourself, to just anybody. It's just, that's the whole thing. So you try to keep it as simple as possible. Thank you guys for all your support. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for being there every day. It means a lot, and that's why I'm doing this tonight. I will talk to you guys again tomorrow, and hopefully we have really good news tomorrow morning.